Thanksgiving dinner, and asked what I do. Mom cut in. She's just hopping between jobs, nothing serious. Laughter, I stepped out. 5 minutes later, Mom's phone wouldn't stop ringing. The cranberry sauce made its third round to the table, completely bypassing me, while Mom told everyone about her latest promotion, again. I had already heard this story 4 times, but Aunt Michelle nodded as if she had just discovered the meaning of life. Deputy Vice President of Regional Operations, Mom announced, sitting up straight in her chair. 32 years with the same company. That's what you call dedication. That's called dedication. She looked at me, the kind of look that says everything without words, the kind I've been getting my whole life. Grandma rose past the turkey platter. What a blessing to have everyone together. Melissa, dear, help yourself. You look thin. That's Melissa. Disappointment that looked thin because I had been working 18 hours a day for the last 3 months, closing deals that would make my mother's salary look like pocket money. But no one knew that. No one asked. Melissa has always been picky about food, Dad interjected as if I were still 7. Remember how she wouldn't eat anything green? I was 31. I ate a lot of green things, including money. The dining room was packed. Uncle Tom and Aunt Michelle, Cousin Sarah and her husband Brad, Grandma Rose at the head of the table where Grandpa used to sit before his stroke, my younger brother Derek, smirking into his wine glass as if he knew something I didn't, and Thanksgiving at the Hartwell's house. A Norman Rockwell painting, if Norman Rockwell painted repressed rage and passive aggression. So, Melissa, Aunt Michelle said, putting down her fork with genuine interest. I hadn't seen her in almost 3 years. The last time was at Derek's wedding, where Mom spent the entire reception telling people about Derek's engineering job at Boeing. What are you doing now? Last I heard, you were doing something with computers? Finally, someone actually asking about my life. I opened my mouth. Oh, she's just flitting around, Mom interrupted, waving her hand as if shooing away a fly. You know how it is. Can't settle on anything. These young people and they're jumping from job to job. The table laughed. Actually laughed. Aunt Michelle shook her head with that sympathetic look people give when they hear someone has a chronic illness. It must be so stressful, never having any stability. Millennials, said my cousin Sarah, as if she had just solved the problem of world hunger. She was 2 years younger than me. They just can't commit to anything. I remember when Melissa worked at that startup, Dad added, his voice full of concern. Such long hours for such little money. I kept telling her to apply at Linda's company. They have great benefits. Linda is Mom. Everyone called her Linda, except me and Derek. Benefits don't matter when you can't hold down a job long enough to take advantage of them, Derek said. His smirk evolved into a full smile. What's it now, Mel? 5th job in 2 years? 5th consulting contract, with companies whose names were on everyone's lips, earning more in a month than Derek did in 6. But yes, let's call it jumping from job to job. Brad, Sarah's husband, interjected, My sister was the same. She couldn't settle down. In the end, she had to move back in with her parents at 35. Now everyone was looking at me. Concerned faces, sympathetic faces. My mother's face, which was neither concerned nor sympathetic, but satisfied, as if she had just proven the point she had been trying to make my whole life. I put down my fork. Carefully. The way you put down something fragile that you really want to throw against the wall. Excuse me, I said, moving away from the table. I need to make a phone call, Dad frowned. During dinner, Melissa, that's rude. It's important. More important than family? Mom asked. There was that note in her voice, the one that used to make me want to sink through the floor when I was 12. Yes, I said simply. Actually, yes. I left the dining room, passed through the kitchen where the pie was cooling, and went to Mom's home office, the room where she kept all her awards and certificates. Vice President of Regional Operations, 32 years of service. Neighborhood worker, 1997. I grabbed my phone and called Jessica Chen. She answered on the first ring. Melissa, happy Thanksgiving. Jess, remember that article you wanted to publish? Jessica was the senior editor at Tech Forward magazine. We had been discussing the article for weeks. She wanted to do a big piece. I was hesitant. Too public? Too much attention? 30 under 30. Changing consulting? Her voice perked up. Did you change your mind? I want it out tonight. Tonight? Melissa, it's Thanksgiving. I know what day it is. Can you do it or not? A short pause. I could hear her thinking. The article has been ready for a week. I just need your final approval of the photos and quotes. You have it. Publish everything. And Jess, make sure it goes out on all social channels, LinkedIn, Twitter, everywhere. This is very sudden. What happened? I looked at my mother's wall of achievements. 32 years of playing it safe, following the rules, being exactly what they wanted her to be. Let's just say I'm not going to be patient anymore, I said. 20 minutes. That's how long it took Jessica to work her magic. I stayed in my mom's office, staring at my phone, waiting for the notifications to start rolling in. The article was published at 7:47 p.m. By 7:52 p.m., my LinkedIn was exploding with notifications. Greetings from former professors, clients praising my work. Industry leaders shared the article, the algorithm devoured it. By 7:55 p.m., the phone call started. I heard it from my mom's office, surprised murmurs from the dining room. Someone's phone rang. Then another. Then another. I turned slowly. I gave them time to understand. When I walked into the dining room, the scene had completely changed. Everyone was looking at their phones. Uncle Tom, Aunt Michelle, even Grandma Rose had put on her reading glasses, squinting at Sarah's screen. Mom's phone was lying face down on the table, but it was lit up like a Christmas tree. Buzz, buzz, buzz. What's going on? Dad asked, looking around, confused. Why is everyone on their phones? Dad, Derek said, in a strange, emotionless voice. You need to see this. He held out his phone. Dad took it. He started reading. His eyes widened. Linda, he said quietly. Linda, look at this. Mom grabbed the phone, annoyed. What's so important that everyone stopped eating? She froze. I watched her face. I watched as it cycled through confusion, then recognition, then shock, then something else. Something I had never seen before. The realization that she had screwed up. The headline was perfect. 30 under 30, how one consultant changed tech industry hiring while the industry wasn't looking. The subheading was even better. Melissa Hartwell's unconventional approach to freelance consulting has earned her 7-figure contracts and changed how Fortune 500 companies think about talent acquisition. There was a photo of me at a conference in Singapore. Another one where I was speaking to a room full of executives, testimonials from CEOs, a breakdown of my client list, which read like a who's who of tech giants, and the revenue figures, those beautiful, undeniable revenue figures, $2.3 million in consulting fees over the last 18 months. The table fell completely silent. Mom stared at her phone. Her face turned pale. $2.5 million. Aunt Michelle said slowly. Melissa, is that true? Yes. You earned $2 million? 2.3. And that's just in the last year and a half. Uncle Tom whistled. That's more than... He stopped. He looked at Mom. He didn't finish his sentence, but we all knew. It was more than Mom had earned in 5 years, maybe 6. Derek stopped smirking. He read the article on his phone, scrolling through it, his expression growing darker with each paragraph. Why didn't you tell us? Money ahoyts, Dad asked. I looked at him, really looked at him. Tell you what, that I was jumping from job to job, that I couldn't settle on anything, that I was just flitting from one thing to another. He flinched. I tried to tell you, I continued, my voice calm. Several times. But every time I mentioned my job, Mom changed the subject or made a comment about stability or compared me to Derek and his real job. That's not fair, Mom began. Is it? I turned to her. When was the last time you asked about my job? Really asked, not just made assumptions? She opened her mouth, closed it. No answer. I'll tell you when. Never. Not once in the 3 years I've been doing this. You decided that what I do isn't a real job, and you never checked to see if you were right. We were worried, Mom said, her voice defensive. All these different jobs, no stability. They weren't jobs, they were contracts. With Google, with Microsoft, with Amazon, with every big tech company you can name. I was building something while you were telling everyone I was a failure. Cousin Sarah scrolled through her phone. The article says you're speaking at a tech conference next month. In London? Yes. I'm getting paid $50,000 plus expenses. $50,000? Sarah's eyes widened. For one speech? Yes. It's called value, something I've been trying to tell you all, but you've been too busy laughing at my instability. Brad looked stunned. I thought you said she was barely making ends meet. He looked at Mom. Mom turned even paler. I needed to fill the pause, she mumbled. By filling it with lies? I leaned forward. You told people I was barely making ends meet? When I own a house? When I run a multi-million-dollar business? I didn't know. You didn't want to know. There's a big difference. Grandma Rose put down her glasses. Melissa, dear, that's impressive. Why did you keep it a secret? I didn't keep it a secret, Grandma. I tried to share. But every time I brought up my job, Mom interrupted or changed the subject or made it sound unimportant. That's not true, Mom said, but her voice was weak. Is it? I pulled out my phone. Last Christmas, I mentioned that I was working with Amazon on a recruitment project. Do you know what you said? A silence. You said, how sweet. Derek just got a $10,000 bonus. You literally dismissed a $1 million contract to brag about Derek's bonus. Derek looked down at his plate. Mom spoke up. I didn't know it was $1 million. Because you didn't ask. You never ask. You just assume. You assume I'm a failure. You assume I'm struggling. And you assume Derek is better than me because he has a regular job and wears a suit to work. I just wanted you to be safe, Mom muttered. No. You wanted me to be like you, worked in one place for 30 years, never took any risks, never stood out, but I'm not like that. And instead of celebrating that, you shamed me for it. The table was completely silent. Uncle Tom cleared his throat. Melissa, your mom loves you. She just... Strange way to show it, I interrupted, by spending years denying my worth. I never denied your worth, Mom said, her voice trembling. You did. Every year. Every comparison to Derek. Every comment about my instability. Every time you told strangers about Derek's accomplishments, but didn't mention anything about me. That's not fair. Life isn't fair, Mom. But you know what? I didn't come here today expecting fairness. I came because it's Thanksgiving and Grandma wanted the family to be together. But you know what? You all made it so easy. Thanks for reminding me why I stay away. I stood up. Melissa, wait, Dad started. No, I'm done waiting. I've spent years waiting for one of you to see me. Really see me. And tonight you finally did. But it's too late. Don't go, Mom whispered. Why should I stay? So you can make more assumptions about my life? So I can continue to feel small? I reached the dining room door. I turned around. There's a section in the article about family, about how I built my career without support. Jessica wanted to cut it out. She said it was too personal. I told her to leave it in, because it's true, and now everyone knows it. Mom's phone buzzed again, and again, and again, messages from her colleagues, her friends, people who had read the article, People who saw her name, who saw her talk about me publicly, who saw the numbers, who did the math. "I'm leaving," I said. "Enjoy the rest of your dinner." I made it to my car while they were still sitting in stunned silence. I got behind the wheel. I took a breath. I exhaled. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. LinkedIn messages, emails, text messages, colleagues, clients, journalists who wanted to follow the story. Robert sent me a message. "You did this on Thanksgiving? Perfect. Let's talk on Monday about expanding your responsibilities and a raise." I smiled. I started the car, and then the phone calls started. First, Dad. I declined. Then Derek. Declined. Then a number I didn't recognize. I answered. "Melissa Hartwell?" A man's voice. Professional. "Yes? This is Jonathan Kennedy from Venture Capital Group. I just read your article. I need to talk to you about funding. Your business model is exactly what we're looking for." "I don't need funding," I said, "but thank you." "You don't even want to hear the proposal?" I thought about it. "Send me an email. I'll look at it on Monday." "I will. And Melissa, congratulations. What you've built is impressive." "Thank you." I hung up. The phone rang again. My mom's number. I stared at it, watched it ring, and ring, and ring. Finally, it stopped. A second later, a text message arrived. "Please call me. We need to talk." Then another. "I'm sorry. I didn't understand." Then another. "I'm proud of you. I've always been proud." I stared at that last message. I felt anger rising in my chest. Always been proud? Lies, big fat lies. If she had been proud, she would have said so. She would have shown it. She wouldn't have spent years belittling my choices. I typed a reply. "Yeah, no, Mom, you weren't. But now you have to live with that." I sent it. I turned off the sound on my phone. I drove home. My apartment was quiet, clean, mine. I poured myself a glass of wine, sat down on the couch, looked at my laptop. The article was still gaining momentum. Thousands of reposts, hundreds of comments. People were sharing their own stories about how their families didn't believe in them, about how they proved them wrong. Oh, one comment stood out. "My mother told me I was wasting my life when I left my corporate job to start my own business. 5 years have passed. I've built a company valued at $8 million. She still doesn't acknowledge it. Your story made me feel less alone, thank you." I smiled. I clicked like on the comment. That was it. The reason I decided to make the article public. Not to prove my mom wrong, although that was a nice bonus, but to show others that it's possible, that you can build something incredible even when the people closest to you don't believe in you, especially then. My phone buzzed again. A message from Jessica. "Have you seen the numbers? The article is getting an incredible response. We've already received dozens of requests from other media outlets that want to follow up. How are you feeling?" I typed my reply. Fired up. And it was true. The next morning, I woke up to 300 new messages on LinkedIn, 5 offers of collaboration, 12 interview requests, and 1 email that stood out from the rest, from the CEO of a Fortune 100 technology company. Subject: "Let's talk about a partnership." I opened it. "Melissa, I just read about your work. We need someone like you to lead our hiring initiative. Let's set up a meeting next week. Name your price." I smiled. I typed my reply. "I'd love to talk. My rate is 7 figures. If that's okay, let's continue this conversation." I sent it. 5 minutes later, I got a reply. "No problem. My assistant will contact you to set up a meeting." I put my phone down. I looked up at the ceiling. Thanksgiving. The day I finally stopped waiting for my family's approval. The day I showed them, and myself, that I was worthy. It was the best holiday I ever had. The next month was crazy. Interview invitations, partnership offers, publishers who wanted a book, event organizers who wanted me to speak. I said yes to the best opportunities, no to the rest, selectively, deliberately. My mom tried to contact me 7 times. Emails, text messages, voice messages. I ignored them all. Derek sent 1 text message. "Can we talk?" I replied. "No." Dad called once. I let him leave a voicemail. "Melissa, I know you're angry, and you have a right to be, but your mom, she didn't know, she didn't understand. None of us understood. Please give us a chance to make it right." I deleted the message. 6 weeks after Thanksgiving, my business value had tripled. The contracts I was closing were bigger. The rates I was charging were higher. My brand had become so strong that I didn't need to look for clients. They found me. I hired an assistant, then a project manager, then 2 more consultants. We weren't a company, not yet. But we were something that was growing. In December, I was invited to speak at a technology summit in London, the keynote address. 10,000 attendees. I said yes, the topic, building against expectations. I was writing my speech at home in my apartment, drinking coffee at 2 a.m, when there was a knock at the door. I went to the peephole. Mom. I stepped back. My heart was pounding. She knocked again. "Melissa, I know you're in there. Please, I need to talk to you." I stood there for 5 minutes. I didn't move. Finally, she spoke again. "I'm staying here until you open the door." "I'm not leaving. I can't leave. Not after what I did." 5 more minutes. Then I opened the door. She looked terrible, like she was 10 years older. Her eyes were red. "What do you want?" My voice was cold. An apology. A real one. "You deserve it. You've always deserved it. It's a little late for that. I know, it's too late, but I have to try." She wiped her eyes. "Can I come in?" I hesitated. "Please," she whispered. I stepped back. Let her in. We sat in my living room, awkwardly. The silence between us was thick. "Your apartment is beautiful," Mom said, looking around. "Thank you." "You did all this yourself?" "Yes." "I didn't know, I didn't." Her voice broke. "I didn't understand what you were building. Because you didn't ask." "You're right. I didn't ask. I assumed, and my assumptions were horribly wrong." I waited, let her continue. "When I saw that article," Mom said, "I felt so small, so stupid. I spent years telling people you were struggling when you were actually building an empire. I shamed you in public. I belittled your achievements. And I did it because—" She paused, took a breath. "Because I was jealous." It caught me off guard. "Jealous?" "Yes." She looked me in the eye. "You had the courage to do what I never had the courage to do, to take a risk, to follow your own path. I spent 32 years in a job I hated, climbing a ladder that didn't interest me, for the sake of security that didn't make me happy. And then you came along and just didn't do that. You chose happiness. I couldn't forgive you for that. I kept quiet. And when I saw your success," she continued, "it forced me to confront every choice I had made, every opportunity I hadn't taken, every time I played it safe when I could have taken a risk. You were a mirror that showed me everything I could have been, and I hated you for it." Tears streamed down her face. "But I don't hate you. I never hated you. I loved you so much that it scared me, because you were so brave, so brilliant, so much bigger than anything I could understand. And instead of celebrating that, I tried to make you smaller, because witnessing your greatness meant acknowledging my own mediocrity." She covered her face with her hands. She sobbed. "I'm a terrible mother, the worst mother, and I don't expect you to forgive me, but I had to tell you the truth. You deserve to know the truth." I sat there for a long time, processing. "Yo, what do you want from me?" I finally said. "Nothing. I don't want anything. I just wanted you to know that I see you now. I really see you. And that I'm sorry. And that I'm proud. So terribly proud. Proud after everyone else saw it. After the article went viral. After the numbers proved it. I know how it looks. It looks like you only care because now it can't be ignored." She nodded. "You're right. That's exactly how it is. And I have to live with that. But Melissa, even if it's too late, even if it doesn't matter now, I want you to know I see who you are. And you're incredible. I stood up. You need to go. Melissa. Mom, you need to go. I can't do this right now. She stood up, slowly. Will you ever be able to forgive me? I don't know. Maybe never. Maybe someday, but not today. She nodded. She walked to the door. At the door, she stopped. She turned around. I won't ruin the rest of your life, she said. I promise. If you want me to stay away, I'll stay away. But if you ever want to give me another chance, I'll be here, waiting, working to be the mother you deserve. She left. I closed the door, leaned against it, allowed myself to cry, not out of sadness, not entirely, but out of relief, out of release, from closing a chapter. The next day, I flew to London. The summit was huge, impressive, packed with industry leaders, innovators, people who were changing the world. I gave the keynote speech on the last day. I stood on stage. I looked at 10,000 faces. I took a breath, and I told my story. Not just about business, not just about numbers, but about struggle, about doubt, about building something big when the people you loved most didn't believe in you, about choosing yourself when no one else chose you. The audience gave me a standing ovation. 3 minutes. Continuous applause. I stood there in that moment, in that victory, and felt something I hadn't felt in years, completely, utterly, unquestionably proud of myself. After the speech, a woman approached me, mid-30s, professional, confident. That was me, she said. 5 years ago. My family thought I was crazy when I left my corporate job, but I built a company valued at $20 million. They still don't understand it. But I don't need them to understand anymore. Your speech reminded me of that. Thank you. We hugged. 2 strangers who understood each other in a way our families never would. That evening in my hotel room, I checked my phone. 500 new messages on LinkedIn, 23 new business inquiries, and 1 text from Derek. Saw your speech online. You were incredible. Oh, I'm sorry I was such a jerk. You deserved better. I stared at it. Then I typed a reply. Thank you, that's something. I sent it. A minute later, a reply came. Can we talk sometime? Not for my mom. For me. I want to understand. I thought about it, then I replied. Maybe, someday, but not now. I understand. I'll wait. I put my phone down. I looked out the window at the London skyline. Somewhere down there, in a city full of millions of people, there were others like me. Building something, taking risks, proving everyone wrong. And somewhere out there were other mothers, other families, other people who didn't understand. But we built anyway, because in the end we weren't building for them. We were building for ourselves. 6 months after Thanksgiving, I launched my own consulting firm. Officially, with a name, with a logo, with a team of 12 consultants. We were small, but we were growing. Fast. Roberts called me on launch day. You're crazy, you know that, he said, but he was laughing. Launching a firm in such a competitive market. I learned from the best, I replied. Damo, I'm serious. I'm proud of you. If you ever need advice or if you want a contractor for a job, call me. I will. And Melissa, that feeling you're having right now, hold on to it, because there will be days when it's hard, days when you doubt yourself, but remember that feeling. It will help you get through it. Thank you, Roberts. You're welcome. Now go create something incredible. And that's what I did. By the end of the year, my firm had earned $5 million in revenue. We worked with 9 Fortune 500 companies. We hired 17 new employees. And we were just getting started. In January, I received a letter from a publisher. They wanted me to write a book, memoirs about building a business, about family, about choosing myself. I said yes. I wrote for the next 6 months, every morning before work, my story, my truth. The book came out in September. The title, Built Differently: How I Created a $1 Million Business. When everyone told me no, It became a bestseller in its first week. It debuted at #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. Critics loved it. Readers loved it. And the people who needed it most, those who were building something, taking risks, starting something, they found themselves in it. I received hundreds of emails, messages, notes from people telling me their stories about parents who didn't believe in them, about families who shamed them, about how they built anyway, and how my story gave them the courage to keep going. That was the most important thing. Not the money, not the fame, not the numbers, but the impact. Knowing that my struggle mattered, that my pain had turned into something useful, that made it all worthwhile. A week after the book came out, my mom showed up at my book signing. She stood in line like everyone else. For 2 hours. She didn't complain. When her turn came, she walked up to the table. Her eyes were red. She was holding a copy of the book. The cover was bent. The pages were marked. "You read it," I said, surprised. 3 times. Her voice was trembling. "There's a section about Thanksgiving. The section where you describe how you felt at that table. How small you felt. Mom, I needed to read that. We all needed to read that. To see ourselves through your eyes. To see what we did to you. I didn't write it to hurt you. I know. You wrote it to heal. And it did. It healed me too. Reading it, seeing how my words affected you, it changed something in me. I started therapy. I started working on myself, trying to become the mother you deserved from the beginning. I didn't know what to say. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," so she said, "not now. I just want you to know that I'm working on myself, that I'm trying, and that if you're ever ready, I'll be here." She put the book on the table, turned away. "Mom, wait!" She stopped. "Will you sign your book?" she asked, her voice full of hope. I took the book, opened the inside cover, wrote, "To Mom, progress, not perfection, maybe someday. Melissa." I gave it back to her. She read it. Her eyes filled with tears. "Thank you," she whispered. "This is more than I deserve." "Maybe, but it's a start." She nodded. She hugged the book tightly. "And maybe someday," she repeated. "I'll take it." And she left. I watched her go, feeling something strange in my chest. Not forgiveness, not yet, but the possibility of it. And that was something. A year after Thanksgiving, I was sitting in my firm's office. My office in the building I had signed a lease for, with a team of 30 employees. We had just closed a deal with one of the 5 largest technology companies in the world, a $10 million contract. I sat at my desk, looking at the signed agreement, and thought about that Thanksgiving, about how small I felt at that desk, about how I left my mother's house knowing that something had changed forever, about the choice I made that night to publish the article, to show them the truth. It was supposed to be revenge, a way to prove them wrong, but it became something more. It became liberation. Liberation from waiting for their approval, from needing their validation, from believing that their opinion determined my worth. I built this, all of this, without them, against them, and that victory tasted sweeter than any thanks they could ever give me. My phone buzzed, a text from Grandma Rose. "Proud of you, dear girl. Always knew you would do great things. Will you be coming for Thanksgiving this year? It won't be the same without you." I stared at the message. Then I typed a reply. "We'll see, Grandma. Maybe." I sent it. A minute later, a reply came. "Take your time, sweetheart. We'll be here when you're ready." I smiled. Maybe someday. Maybe when the wounds heal a little more. Maybe when I'm ready to sit at this table again, not as a disappointment, but as the woman I've become, as a business owner, as an author, as someone who has built something incredible. Maybe then, but not today. Today I celebrate my victory. Victory over doubt, over fear, over the voices that told me I wasn't good enough. Today I celebrate the woman I've become. And that was the best victory of all. 2 years after that Thanksgiving, my business was valued at $50 million. We were named one of the fastest-growing consulting firms in North America. I spoke at conferences around the world. My book was translated into 15 languages. And then I got a letter, an official one, from my hometown. They wanted to honor me with the key to the city for outstanding achievements in business and inspiring young people. The ceremony was to take place on Thanksgiving Day. The irony was not lost on me. I accepted. On the day of the ceremony, I went home. For the first time in 2 years. The town hall was packed. Hundreds of people, business leaders, local politicians, students from the local college. My family sat in the front row, Dad, Derek, Grandma Rose, and Mom. She looked different, older, but also lighter, as if the weight she had been carrying for years had finally been lifted. Our eyes met. She smiled, not a big smile, just a small, sad smile that said, "I see you, and I'm sorry." I nodded. I acknowledged it. The mayor walked up to the microphone. "Today, we have the honor of recognizing one of our city's most successful entrepreneurs, a woman who built a multi-million-dollar business from the ground up." The mayor walked up to the microphone. "Today, we have the honor of recognizing one of our city's most successful entrepreneurs, a woman who built a multi-million-dollar business from scratch, who wrote a bestseller, who inspires thousands of people around the world with her story of resilience and determination." He continued, listing my accomplishments, my contracts, the impact of my work. Then he called me to the stage. I got up, I walked forward, I received my award. The hall gave me a standing ovation. I stood there, holding the trophy, looking at all these people applauding me, and I felt calm. Not victory, not revenge, just calm. They gave me a microphone. I began to speak. 2 years ago, I sat at the Thanksgiving table, feeling smaller than I had ever felt. The people I loved had decided I was a failure, that my path was wrong, that I was floundering, not building. I paused. I looked at my family. They were wrong, but their mistake taught me something important, that the only approval you need is your own, that the only test that matters is the one you give yourself. I built a business. I wrote a book. I performed on stages around the world. And I didn't do it because someone believed in me. I did it because I believed in myself. If you're here today building something, taking a risk, starting something, and the people around you don't understand, I want you to know this: you are not alone. Your path is valid, and your success doesn't depend on someone else's belief in you. It depends on your belief in yourself. The audience applauded again. When the ceremony was over, my family came up to me. Dad hugged me first. "I'm proud of you, baby." "Thanks, Dad." Derek was next. "You were incredible." I should never have doubted you." "No, you shouldn't have, but you're learning." Grandma Rose hugged me tightly. "My brilliant girl." I always knew. Then Mom. She stood there, arms crossed, unsure. "Can I talk to you?" she asked quietly. I nodded. We walked away, found a quiet corner. "Your speech was beautiful," she said. "Thank you. You're right about everything. I was wrong, terribly, horribly wrong." "I know. I've spent the last 2 years in therapy, working on myself, trying to understand why I did what I did, why I belittled you, why I couldn't celebrate your success." "And what did you learn?" "That I was scared by your courage, by your difference, by your willingness to take risks. I never had that kind of courage, so I tried to make you small, easier to understand, safer. It's not your job to make me safer. I know that now, and I'm sorry, more than you'll ever know." We stood in silence. "Where are we now, Melissa?" she finally asked. "Is there a chance, ever, for reconciliation?" I thought about it. "I don't know," I said honestly. "You hurt me deeply." Years of pain. That's not something that goes away with one apology. "I know." but I can see you're trying, and that's something. It's not everything, but it's something." Her eyes filled with hope. "So there is a chance?" "Maybe, someday, if you keep working on yourself. If you show me you've changed, not with words, with actions." "I will, I promise. I'll spend the rest of my life proving it." "Don't spend the rest of your life on that," I said. "Spend the rest of your life being better. For yourself, not for me." She nodded, wiped her eyes. "And can I hug you?" she asked. I hesitated. Then I nodded. She hugged me, not tightly, gently, as if she was afraid I would break. I didn't break, but I didn't hug her back either. Not yet, but maybe. Someday. Progress, not perfection. That evening, I had dinner with my family at my grandmother's house, not my mother's. It was awkward at first. Lots of silence, lots of cautious conversation. But then Derek told a joke. Dad laughed. Grandma asked me more about my job, and gradually, it got easier. Not perfect. It will never be perfect. But maybe someday it could be good. I drove home that night feeling different. Not healed, not yet healed, but healing. And that was enough. 3 years after that Thanksgiving, I sat in my new office. Corner office. City View. My firm now had 100 employees, offices in 3 countries, revenue over $100 million a year. We weren't just a consulting firm anymore. We were a force. A change of minds. We were changing how companies thought about talent. I had achieved more than I ever thought possible. But the most significant thing, not the numbers, not the growth, but the letters I still received from people who had read my book, who had heard my speech, who had seen my story and found the courage to start their own. That was what mattered most. Knowing that my pain, my struggle, my triumph, it all mattered, that it helped others. My phone buzzed, a text from my mom. "Today is the anniversary, remember? 3 years since that Thanksgiving, the day that changed everything. I want you to know, I thank you for showing me the truth, for not giving up on me, for giving me a chance to grow. I love you. I always have. Mom." I stared at the message. Then, for the first time in 3 years, I replied to one of her messages. "I love you too, Mom. See you at Christmas." I sent it. A second later, a reply came. "Really? Are you coming?" "Yes, I'm coming." "Thank you, Melissa. It means everything." I put my phone down. I looked out the window. Progress, not perfection. Healing, not forgiveness. Not yet, but maybe someday. And in the meantime, I'll keep building. I'll keep growing. I will continue to prove, not to them, but to myself, that I am enough. More than enough. I am everything. And that is the greatest victory of all. 2 weeks later, I met my mother, a coffee shop, a public place, 1 hour, no expectations. She arrived early. She looked older, thinner, there was more gray in her hair. She had aged years in the past 12 months. We sat down, ordered coffee, sat in awkward silence. "Thank you for meeting with me," she finally said. "Grandma convinced me." "I'm glad she did. I've wanted to talk to you for months, but I didn't think you'd agree." I almost didn't agree. She nodded. She looked down at her coffee. "I read your book, all of it. It was hard to read, to see myself through your eyes, to see how much I hurt you. It was hard to write. There's a section about your business school graduation, about how I didn't come. You wrote that you found out I went shopping with Derek's girlfriend that day. You did. I did. And I'm trying to understand why I made that choice, why I always made those choices. Do you understand? I was jealous of you, of your courage, of your willingness to do things differently. I spent 32 years playing by rules I hated, walking a path I didn't choose, being who my parents wanted me to be. And then you came along and just didn't do that. You chose yourself. I never had that kind of courage. So you punished me for it. Yes, that's exactly what I did. And I'm sorry for everything, for every disparaging comment, every comparison to Derek, every time I made you feel small because I felt small. I took a sip of coffee. Let her words sink in. What do you want from me, Mom? Nothing. I don't want anything. I just wanted you to know that I see you now. I really do. And what I see is extraordinary. You've built something I could never have built. Not because I'm not smart enough, but because I was never brave enough. Is this supposed to make me forgive you? No, you don't have to forgive me. You don't owe me that. I just wanted you to know that your success, everything you've achieved, has taught me something important. Success doesn't have to look like mine. Different doesn't mean wrong, and I should have learned that 30 years ago. We sat in silence for a while. The company demoted you, I said. No question. Yes, I'm in a support role now, less responsibility, less visibility. It's humiliating. I'm sorry. Don't be. I deserved it. The way I talked about you publicly, the way I dismissed your work, it reflected badly on the company. They had to distance themselves. I understand that. Like Dad? Supportive, more than I deserve. He went to therapy with me. He helped me see things I couldn't see before. Like what? Like the fact that I was projecting my own insecurities onto you, making you carry my disappointment in myself. It wasn't fair. None of it was fair. I finished my coffee, checked my watch. We had been talking for 45 minutes. I have to go soon. I have a call with a client. Of course, I appreciate you making time for me. I stood up. So did she. Melissa, before you go, will you ever be able to forgive me? I thought about it. About 3 years of pain. About building success in spite of her. About all the times she made me feel worthless. I don't know, I said honestly. Maybe someday, but not today. Today, I'm still healing. And that has to be my priority. I understand. And if it's worth anything, I'm proud of you. So incredibly proud. Thank you. That means something. Not everything, but something. I walked to my car, sat there for a minute, processed. The meeting didn't fix anything. It didn't erase the pain, but it gave me something I didn't know I needed. Closure. 3 months later, Derek got engaged. He asked me to be in the wedding party. Will Mom be there? I asked. Obviously, but you don't have to interact with her. Just be there for me. I can do that. The wedding was beautiful. Derek looked happy. His bride was gorgeous. And Mom stayed on the other side of the room the whole time. She didn't try to talk to me. She didn't approach me during the reception. She just smiled from afar and left me alone. It was the most important thing she had done in years. At the end of the evening, as I was leaving, she stopped me at the door. You look beautiful, Melissa, and happy. I'm glad. Thank you, Mom. I mean it. Whatever happened between us, so I'm glad you're happy. I am happy. For the first time in a long time, I am truly happy. She nodded. She stepped back. She let me go. No demands, no guilt, no expectations, just acceptance. It felt like progress. 6 months later, I was invited to speak at a major technology conference in Singapore. 10,000 attendees. Keynote speech. Topic: Building Success Against All Odds. I talked about my journey, about starting from nothing, about being rejected by people who were supposed to support me, about finding validation not from family but from results. The audience gave me a standing ovation. Afterwards, a young woman approached me, mid-20s, nervous. I'm starting my own business. My parents think I'm crazy. They want me to get a stable job. I'm terrified that I'm making a mistake. Are you passionate about it? I asked. More than anything. Then you're not making a mistake. The only mistake would be not to try. She started to cry. Thank you. I needed to hear that. We all need to hear that. That's why I keep saying it. That night, I got a text from my mom. Saw your keynote online. You're changing lives. Keep doing what you're doing. Mom, I didn't reply. But I saved the text. Progress, not perfection. 2 years after Thanksgiving, my life had become something I couldn't have imagined that night at my mom's house. I had a business worth tens of millions, a best-selling book, a platform to help others, relationships I had rebuilt, and relationships I had let go. I learned something important. You don't need everyone's approval to be successful. You don't even need your family's approval. You only need your own. And I had it. Finally, completely, utterly. I had my own approval, my own validation, my own pride. And that was enough. More than enough. It was everything.